Okay, this is 7.8. It's our last lesson of percent chapter. Now, I gave you guys all a study sheet that lists all the formulas in one place. I hope you were wise, and I hope you kept it. I hope you've been looking it over. Hope you used it to help get ready for your last quiz. Hope you're going to look it over and use it to get ready for your test. One of the last formulas there involves percent change. Percent change. Now, there's another way to do this type of problem, but this formula is the easiest way. So a triangle means change. So this is the symbol for percent change. If you were to read it, it would technically read as change in percent. The triangle is a symbol that means changing. So change in percent. How do you get it? The amount of change. What's the amount of change? The new number minus the original number. You'll see what I mean by that. And then you have to, and here's the key. Make sure you always divide by the original number, not the new number. And that's where students will make their mistake. And again, we have to remember to change it to a percent, we got to multiply times 100%. So the first part gets it in fraction form, and then times the 100% makes it a percent. So your final answer will have the percent symbol. All right, let's see if we can do some of these problems. So notice, find the percent change if 70 is changed by 12. 70 is changed by 12. A similar question would be if 70, let's say, goes up to 82. That would be a similar type question. Or if we said 70 goes down to 58. It'd be the same way of asking the same question. Okay, so we got to learn our formula, so we're going to write it each time. Change in percent. I don't mind if you abbreviate. Amount change is usually how I'll do the top. And ORIG and the number symbol is usually the way I'll do the bottom. But again, each time we write it will help us to remember. Don't forget times the 100%. Okay. Anybody have any idea what the amount change is in this problem? Amber?
12.
It is 12. This thing changed by an amount of 12. So sometimes you'll have to subtract the numbers, but in this problem they told us how much it changed, right? If it were the second here where I said 70 goes to 82, you would take 82 minus 70, right, and get 12. Could be asked either way. Now, it's real important that we put the correct number on the bottom. And so, class, what goes on the bottom? 70. Whoops, 70, not 700. And then don't forget to multiply times 100% to get it into a percent mode. So go ahead and punch that out in your calculator. 12 divided by 70. And again, multiply times 100% to get it in percent form. Edward, what do you got?
You said 70 goes up to 82. And it's 12.
Yeah.
So you said there's 82.
So what's your, are you trying to tell me to put 82 on the bottom? Is that what you're asking? Is that your question? Because if that's your question, remember, it's the original number that goes on the bottom, which is the 70. All right. So who's got an answer for me? Colby, what do you got?
Percent change equals 17.14%.
7, and we round off to one decimal place unless it ends, so 17.1% is our answer. So 17.1% change. If the question were 70 to 82, we would say that's a 17.1% increase. If the question were 70 to 58, we'd say that's a 17.1% decrease. In this problem, the way it's originally written, doesn't tell us whether it went up or down, so we'll just leave 17.1%. Christina.
Wait, you divided 12 by 70?
Correct. 12 divided by button 70 equals multiply times 100. You have to equal that before you multiply times the 100.
Okay.
Otherwise, your calculator thinks the bottom is all the multiplication. Okay, so you see a similar problem here. Pretty simplistic. Change in percent, right? So go ahead and write your formula. You don't need me to say it. You have it right in front of you. Write your formula. All right, I'm going to pause on 3. Give me your answer. 1, 2, 3. 30% would be the answer on that one. We would not put 30.0 because we didn't round off something to 30. It was exactly 30, right? So we would just write 30%. So again, the 36 divided by the 120 times 100%, and there you go. All right, so C, this is the way you'll see the problems a lot, although not necessarily with this wording. And the way I word it makes it quite easy. Emily?
I got 3%.
You got what percent?
3%.
So you did 36 divided by 120, and then you multiplied times 100? Why did you multiply times 0.1? That's times 100. You either have to move the decimal point 2 places to the right yourself, or multiply times 100 to change a fraction to a percent. All right, let's go ahead and do C. Go ahead and do it. I'm going to pause and let you do C. It's your percent an increase or decrease? Increase, right? We went from 70 to 90. Now, does your answer make sense? 70, we went up by 20. This is the exact same question as 20 is what percent of 70? And that is an alternate way to do the problem. 20 is what percent of 70? And class on 3, your answer, 1, 2, 3?
28.6%.
Okay, 28.6% is the answer on that one. Again, what's the amount of change? It's a 20. I showed you how to get the 20 right, 90 minus 70. If you were doing homework, you could either put the 90 minus 70 on the top or the 20 on the top. I always want to see the formula. I always want to see that step. But again, your top can have the 20 there. I'm okay with that. Okay? Beyond that, everything's in the calculator. So that's how your homework should look. I should see a formula. I should see that step with the numbers in, and then the rest you do on your calculator. Chloe?
Do we have to write the increase?
I would get used to saying increase or decrease. So you can use an up arrow for increase and a down arrow for decrease. So again, percent change will have that aspect to it. All right, so the last one, same thing, right? Go ahead and write your formula. Let's do this one a little together. Somebody raise your hand and tell me what to put in the top of this. Brendan? 58, not quite. Not quite. Nia?
43.
Yeah, the top is 100 minus 58, and it is 42 is what that's going to become. Now again, you might say, well, should I do 58 minus 100? All right, so pay attention here. You can do 58 minus 100. What kind of answer are you going to have if you do that? You're going to have a negative answer. So I'm going to show you the 2 ways of reading your answer. Now, before we get to that part, what's the bottom number have to be, class? The bottom's got to be 100, the original number. The bottom is 100. If you don't do that, you're going to be in trouble. And then again, we're going to multiply times 100%. So let me show you how this ends up. If you do 100 minus 58, you'll get 42. 42 divided by 100, then times 100. This one will end up being 42%, and you've got to say this is a percent decrease because you went from 100 to 58. If you do it the second way, you get negative 42%, showing that it was a percent decrease. So if you always do the new number minus the original, then increases will always have a plus sign and decreases will always have a minus sign. If you don't do it that way, then you have to think, is this a percent increase or a percent decrease? So it is acceptable to say negative 42% in place of 42% decrease. Do I make that clear for you guys? So again, this second example right here followed the formula for the top as the new number minus the original number. That then causes it to be negative, which is correct. It's a percent decrease. If you just do the big number minus the small number, then you have to make sure that you're thinking, is this a percent increase or a percent decrease? Any questions on that? Okay. So that's percent decrease, percent increase. Again, there's a couple different ways to do those problems. How about if they ask you to find a new amount? They ask you to find a new amount. Now you can do the formula on these, but here's what I found. Over time, students simply lose track of the formula. But what's a formula I hope you're always going to remember? Number equals percent times, you have number, or part equals percent times whole. One of those should stay with you the rest of your life. It needs to be. And so it's one formula to remember. So we can do these using that formula. It's my preference. I think it's the highest chance of you remembering what to do, say, 3 years from now. Say 5 years from now when you're taking the college entrance exam. So how do you then deal with these? All right, well, it's pretty simple. I don't know why I didn't do this first one in green. For a percent increase, this is what you use for the percent. You start off with 100% and then add to it whatever percent increase you have, and that'll take care of the problem. And we can do it in one step. The percent for a percent increase, 100% plus the amount of increase. Let me see if I can make sense out of that for you. So let's suppose we have this first problem. What is 60 increased by 20%? Notice we have an increase, right? I can use the number equals percent times the of number. Again, same as part equals percent times whole, right? Same thing. And I can do it in one step if I use for the percent 100 plus 20% for a total of 120%. So allow me to do the problem in one step. What is 60 increased by 20%? Therefore, that makes the number is what we're looking for. The percent. So what would I put in for the percent? What would I put in, Ashley? Not 0.2. Not if I'm going to do it this way. Aaron?
1.2.
Yeah, 120% is a 1.2. And then the of number is what we had to begin with, and that's the 60. Really, this is the way the question becomes. So let me try to help you with what's in what place. And this is the little trickier part. This is the exact same question. What is 120% of 60? That's the same question. What is 120% of 60? And we'll take our calculator, and when we're done, we're going to ask the ma'ams if my answer makes sense. So take your calculator, multiply 1.2 times 60. Somebody raise your hand when you got an answer for me. Edward, what do you got?
72.
72. Does that make sense? Does it, if you increase 60 by about 20%, does that sound about like 72? That's definitely reasonable, right? 50% of 60 is 30. So if we were going up 50%, our number would be 90. And so we're in the ballpark, aren't we? It's a reasonable answer. Christina, question.
Which is 1.2.
Right here. 100% plus the 20% increase gives you a grand total of 120%. That's why I did that on the side. And that's why that green box is up there for percent increase, 100 plus the percent increase. Kristen,
Want us to write that on our homework?
what's that?
Want us to write that on our homework?
It would be wise to at least put somewhere that, percent equals 120%, so you put the right number in. You don't have to, but you need to think that way on these kinds of problems. All right, so watch this one. A $98 item is increased by 15%. This is the same question as what is, if you do my method, blank percent of 980. So again, number equals percent times the of number. But before we do anything, let's figure out the percent. So if we want to do it in one step, and we want it to be a one-step problem, Raph, what would I use for the percent?
15.
Not if I want to do it in one step. Not if you follow what we've been doing. Julia, what do I want to use for the percent? Not if you were paying attention to what we were doing, or if you understood it. You may not. You may have been paying attention. You may not have understood. At which point, what do you have to do if you don't understand? You should be asking me questions. Allison, what's our percent? It's 115%. The 100% to start with, and the 15% increase for a grand total of 115%. Again, this is the way to do the problem in one step. If you want to do it in two, you can, but this is a methodology that allows you to do the problem in one step. So now the question is, what is 115% of 98? We'll figure out the new number. So the number equals, Omar, what do I put in for the percent?
1.15.
I agree, 1.15, and then times our $98. I'm going to leave the dollar symbol to remind me I'm talking about money. Take your calculator out and punch that out. Punch that out. Punch that out. Kristen, what do you got?
11,670.
Does that answer make sense? $11,000? All right, so you know you did something wrong, so try to find your mistake. Emily, what do you got?
$112.70.
$112.70. A 10% increase of 98 is $9.80, right? And are we a little bit more than that? We are. The MAMS likes that answer. It may not be right, but the MAMS likes it. $112.70 sounds to be about a 15% increase, and indeed it is the correct answer. Christian, did you figure out what you did?
Yeah.
I think you multiplied times 112, right? Instead of 1.12. Christina.
I would just get 1.15.
100% to begin with, plus the percent increase is a total of 115%. 100% to begin with, plus the percent increase. 100% to begin with, plus the 20% increase, 120%. 100% to begin with, plus the 15% increase, 115%. Again, if that gives you trouble, then do it the old way. Do it in 2 steps. Figure out 15% of 98, get that number, and then add it to 98. You can always do the problem that way. B. All right, so if with a percent increase, we add the percent to 100%, what do you do with a percent decrease? You would subtract it, right? So this is 100% minus, because this is a decrease. So now in this first example, we want to decrease 70 by 16%. So first off, let's figure out what we're going to use for the percent if we want to do this problem in 1 step. Make it a 1-step problem. What percent are we going to use? Nathan, what percent are we going to use?
16.
Okay, what kind of problem are we doing? Percent increase or percent decrease? Okay, and I have to change something here. Nobody, you guys all drinking the Kool-Aid? Yes, you're all drinking the Kool-Aid. This is decrease, right? 100% minus the percent decrease. That's what we're doing right now, right? Percent decrease. All of you are drinking the Kool-Aid. And if you're drinking the Kool-Aid, you're not understanding, and that's the problem. So don't drink the Kool-Aid. So did Nathan ever give me an answer? He didn't, right? Because he said, all right. So Juliana, what is our percent that we're going to use? 84%, because it's the 100% minus the 16%, which gives us 84%. So this is the exact same question. Watch. What is 84% of 70? That's our question. A 16% decrease means we want 84% of our 70. Go ahead and work it out, see what you get. Does the mams like your answer? Going down 16%. What would 10% down be? How much off? 7, right? What would 20% down be? 14 less, right? It shouldn't be as big as 14 less. All right, Luke, what do you got for an answer?
$58.80.
Well, if it were money, it would be $58.80. It's not money, so it's 58.8. It's just a number, right? There's no money symbols. So 58.8. Yeah, that's reasonable. That thing went down a little bit more than 11. 7 down is 10%. 14 down is 20%. I'm only 16% down. Again, this is a means of doing the problem in 1 step. All right, try the last problem. $136 item is decreased by 40%. All right, so again, hopefully you're asking, does my answer make sense? On 3, give me your answer. 1, 2, 3. Okay, some of those answers didn't make sense. I heard $130. Does that sound like a 40% decrease from 136? That doesn't make sense. So that's not it. So, who has something that's less than $100? Christina, what do you got?
$81.60.
That makes sense. $81.60. Right? Every 10% decrease is $13.60 lower. And again, you don't have to figure it exact. It gives you an idea of what ballpark you should be in. 40% off on the item, it's $81. You could do 50%. What's 50% of $136? Can you do that one in your head? That one's a little tougher, right? Because you got to do a 6 and an 8, $68. It's 50%. You should be a little bigger than $68 than we are. The mams likes it. I like it. Hey, here's the thing with percents. You got to think. You got to think about what you're doing. You just can't whip some numbers out. You non-formula people, you have trouble with this stuff because you're just doing numbers that you're just multiplying or dividing. You're not really sure what you're doing because you don't have a formula. And as you see on your quizzes, that doesn't work. So you got to start with a formula. And then, even then, you got to make sure when you're done, does my answer make sense? And if not, then you're going to miss these problems and you're not going to have a good test come Wednesday. So work on what's giving you trouble. You have today and tomorrow to make it up, to be ready for Wednesday. All right, I'll quit there. You got your homework. Make sure you have your quiz with you tomorrow. I'll go over it in class tomorrow.